Can you get the fan?
Oh, gosh.
Check.
Not being.
Oh, I don't have the TV on today. Oh, 3, 2, 1. And we are back again. Let me turn this mic a little closer to my face. Get a little more volume. There we go. ATP Podcast, Around the Post, episode 190. I feel like we were in the 180s for a year. We're at episode 190. It's your boy Jay here. Mark Figueroa is in the building. And it is Wimbledon time. Our first Wimbledon episode is officially here. And we had some predictions and some thoughts and some takes, but I'm excited to talk about how some of them were very right and a few might have been very wrong. Where should we start today? How are you feeling, man?
Good. Yes, there's a... Is it on?
Yeah, I think you're on. Keep going.
Okay. So, yes, there's a lot of news, upsets, a lot of people withdrawing. So, but we're going to talk about a little bit prior to Wimbledon. So, Diana Schneider won a pretty big tournament. She's a very good player. Any thoughts?
Not anything in particular. Not someone I've been particularly invested in. What can you tell me?
Yes, she's been an up-and-coming player, lefty player. She's a solid player. So I just wanted to give her a quick shout-out before moving on. But, so I'm going to talk about a story that happened last week that I forgot to bring up. So Ostapenko said that she was a Lil Wayne fan. And he shouted back.
Yeah.
And said, okay, all right. As a matter of fact, apparently it was sometime this week that Ostapenko said that she was hoping that he would show up to the U.S. Open. And then he said, I'll have to stop by.
Oh, wow.
So what do you think there?
Yeah, I did see this. Ostapenko specifically stated, I went to a Drake concert. And it was a little odd because Lil Wayne was an additional performer at this show. And I found myself not really enjoying the Drake portion, but I couldn't stop screaming the lyrics and dancing to the Lil Wayne portion. And she basically said, hey, I think I'm a bigger Lil Wayne fan and not so much of a Drake fan at this point. A little surprising to hear because obviously we know Drake's supposed to be the big superstar out of the two of them at this point in time.
Yes. So I thought that was funny. And now on to the tennis. Obviously, her and Ajla Tomljanovic had a very rough Wimbledon a couple of years ago. But Ostapenko pretty much mopped her.
Yeah.
Tomljanovic has been struggling with injuries. But what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, big deal. Tomljanovic, obviously, she's had her shining moments, whether it be on breakpoint or her exiting match or Serena Williams' exiting match. She's had some really bright points in her career as of late, but first and foremost, Ostapenko does have momentum this year.
Yes.
She's had a solid year, and Tomljanovic, as you just stated, has kind of been on the decline due to health reasons and stuff like that. So This result wasn't surprising, although the names on paper made this look like a pretty big deal as an event. Yes.
So that was a big win for her. But now we're going to talk about the withdrawals. So Sabalenka had lost a match to, I'm drawing a blank, Sinner's girlfriend. I forgot her, Kazakina. No, not Kazakina. I forgot her name. But anyway, she lost a match to her in Berlin, I want to say. And then we found out that she actually has a shoulder injury.
Kalinskaya, right?
Yeah, it's Kalinskaya, yes. And going back to Sabalenka, she has a shoulder injury and had to withdraw from Wimbledon. And now that section is wide open. What are your thoughts on that? Big deal?
Oh, yeah, huge deal. And we kind of talked about this last week, which was Sabalenka we heard about the aggravated shoulder, and I think I told you then, this is a tournament that's really predicated on how well you're hitting above the shoulder. If you're not serving well at Wimbledon, you're disarmed. You're going to be on the defensive because it's so hard to win without holding all your serves here. Because your opponent's serve is basically enhanced on grass, whether they're a great server or not. It's a little tougher to return on grass. So I think that she made the right call in giving the shoulder rest, doing what she needs to do to recover and heal, and not forcing a result at an event that is going to rely on an injury.
Yes, so, exactly.
Good call from her.
Yes, and then the other Belarusian, obviously, is Azarenka. Mm-hmm. She had to withdraw as well. Thoughts there?
Not too much there. Azarenka, I think that once again, she's making another good call. If there was a slam, I would suggest Azarenka did skip for any type of reasons at all. It would be Wimbledon. I think that is her weakest slam result. I'm pretty sure. Don't quote me on that. But if I remember correctly, this is where she has the weakest results.
Yes. And now the seeds, Swiatek's draw. Mm-hmm. The third round, potentially Siniukova. Mm-hmm. And fourth round would potentially be Ostapenko. Mm-hmm. And right now, she's the number one seed. She has made it deeper at Wimbledon. She had her best result last year. Mm-hmm. Do you consider her a favorite now with Sabalenka out?
Once again, as I stated last weekend, I'm glad we're bringing this up because, like I said, things are changing.
Right.
Iga was the person I said you never count out, even if it's not her ideal surface. But I believe she still has not beaten Ostapenko in a head-to-head.
Ostapenko definitely has a winning record on her. I don't know if Iga has beaten her or not. I haven't checked that head-to-head.
Last time I checked, Iga was 0-3, 0-4. I'll double-check for you right now, but she's 0-4 versus Ostapenko.
Okay.
So let's take into consideration 0-4 versus a player and now on your worst surface. Is this an opportunity to make a difference and show your growth, or is this going to be the worst case scenario for you in your draw? Interesting here because there's not a lot of players who have a 100% winning percentage over Iga Swiatek on the tour.
Right.
Ostapenko, I think, is ranked 14 in the world and seems to be the kryptonite of the number one player in the world. I think Iga's got a tough draw here.
Yeah, that makes sense. And now a lot of people are saying that Coco Gauff has a really, really good chance. Mm-hmm. She's been winning comfortably. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on her? Do you give her a chance to win Wimbledon?
It's funny. With Sabalenka gone, Iga having to beat someone she's 0-4 against, there is an opportunity and a window of opportunity for Gauff to make it to the final and possibly close it out. Her backhand does suit grass. The grass will enhance her serve. The question is, how will the forehand fare against elite competition at Wimbledon? That's the real question, because if her forehand can really click for her, she could do a lot of damage. Her hands are great. She could come forward and shorten points. I actually don't have an opinion on her slice. Have you really examined her slice?
Coco Gauff, no.
No, I haven't either. So I can't really speak to her slice, but if her chip in charge is really there, honestly, she should be a top 5 pick for Wimbledon. But as of right now, if her forehand is not on point, I'm still going Rybakina.
Yes, and we'll get to her in a minute, but here's a funny story. So, Brad Gilbert was commentating in a match, and he said if Osaka would have taken out Iga, Coco would have won the French Open. Any thoughts there?
That's not a crazy take to say. If the number one player didn't go to the final, then the number 3 player would win. Yeah, that's not crazy to say. That's not an incredible take. Of course, if Nadal hurt his ankle and didn't make it to the French Open final, Federer could have won a slam. I don't like those hypothetical what ifs. What if the greatest player on the planet wasn't there? The second best player would probably win. It's just what it is. So it's interesting to hear people talk hypotheticals in that way, but it's not proving anything to anyone.
Yeah.
Her ranking represents her being between first and fourth best in the world. So, of course, she's a favorite if the real favorites aren't there or if the real favorites get upset. You know, how many times has Casper Ruud gone to a slam final? This is no different. So, yeah, which I'm sure that's going to be a slight topic maybe later in this episode.
Right.
So I'll leave that alone.
Yes, well, it was during the Osaka match, and Osaka did lose today. Mm-hmm. But, okay, let's say it was Osaka and Coco in the semis. Let's say Osaka made it all the way to the semis. Mm-hmm. Could she have beaten that Osaka that played Iga? Let's just play hypothetical.
Honestly, I like the way Osaka looked versus Iga more than the way I like Coco versus Iga. But we're talking matchups of how they play Iga, not how they play each other. I do think Coco Gauff matches up well against Naomi Osaka. I think that she has an easier time playing Osaka. So I don't think that the fact that Osaka hits a forehand on the run a light years ahead of Coco Gauff, you know, which is the difference maker. You know, Osaka on the run hitting a forehand is incredible. And that's kind of what Iga eats off of when she plays the Gauff. You know, so where the matchups are, it's a rock, paper, scissors situation. You know, I don't think because one does well against one, that means they're going to do well against the other. So I don't agree with that. I think Coco Gauff beats Osaka.
Yes, I agree. Actually, no. I the way Osaka played Iga, if it was that Osaka, I think Osaka beats Coco.
It's possible.
Yes.
As much as I may seem like a huge Coco Gauff lover on this podcast, I'm a realist. You know, I don't think her game's perfect. I think that she is a player who her off days are better than most people's on days. And I think that her on days are just decent. You know, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Her highs aren't super high, but her lows are pretty high, in my opinion, which is why she has consistently decent results, but also why she doesn't cut through a lot on major matches. So, Goff's an interesting one.
Yes, Gauff with Sabalenka gone, her draw is pretty open because Rybakina would have to play Iga in the semis. So, and she has a really tough road. She's in the third round. Potentially, if Fernandez hasn't lost yet, she would play Fernandez, who has been playing really well on grass. And then she would play Samsonova, who's a big hitter. And then the champ from Berlin, Pegula, in the quarters.
Jeez.
So what do you think of that draw? Do you think she'll make a deep run now?
If anyone can do it, it's her, but it's not going to be easy for sure. You're right about that. It's a very tough draw. There's a few players there that do extremely well on grass. Pegula, I think, bageled her opponent in her first round, so she's clearly playing sharp. And Rybakina is, I think she's still my favorite for the entire thing, but that's mostly because I think some of these seeds you're mentioning aren't going to make it.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be more upsets, so I'm not going to count on her having to face all seeds all the way to the final. I think Samsonova dropped a set. She won in 3 in her first round, so I don't think she's going to be facing all these players.
Okay, that's fair. And a quick shout out to Wozniacki, who won her first Wimbledon match in 5 years.
Wow.
Everybody was giving her a hard time. Well, not her, the decision, because they didn't pick Venus or Halep in the wild card situation, and they gave it to Wozniacki, but here she delivered.
Yeah, she showed up. She was not food in the first round.
Yes, any thoughts?
Good for her. I'm glad that the wild card won their first round because it justifies it. You know, it shows that she belongs there. And her first opponent, she didn't get thrown to the wolves.
Right.
She went against Parks, who's one of those players that's just consistently always kind of there, but never going past the second or third round ever. No offense to Parks, but she's definitely not a threat on the tour to seeded players. So good for Wozniacki.
And the big shock to me is Osaka. Obviously, she did win her first round, but she lost today. But the thing with her is, you would assume that her shots would penetrate on grass. She can hit through the grass. Why do you think Osaka can't deliver on grass?
Here's the thing. So we talk a lot about how clean people strike the ball, but something I don't hear a lot of people covering is people's comfortability with their feet on grass. And if you're not able to really find a strong foundation below you, your ball is not as penetrating. I don't think that Osaka is as comfortable on the grass yet as she found herself to be on the clay. I think that she's having trouble really loading up, getting her feet beneath her, and cracking that forehand the way she can on the other surfaces. And I think that's just going to take more time. That's just ultimately what it comes down to. I don't think she's able to hit that penetrating forehand consistently enough yet. But maybe in time it'll happen.
Yeah, you're right. A lot of people don't mention the footwork.
Mm-hmm.
You have to take a lot of short, choppy steps. If not, you're going to slip.
Yeah.
It's a little bit different footwork.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the ball, although I like to say it's not the true grass of the 90s,
Mm-hmm.
the ball still stays low enough.
Yeah.
And she may not be able to hit that low balls as she would.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, on clay, the ball bounces a little higher.
Yeah.
So she has more time.
Yeah, you can put it in that strike zone window a little easier on clay.
Right, so that probably is one of the reasons.
Mm-hmm.
But the person who beat her was Navarro, who's been having a great season.
Yeah.
She beat Sabalenka in Indian Wells, as
Mm-hmm.
a matter of fact. What are your thoughts on Navarro? She's been playing really well.
Yeah, and she's going to be in the Olympics. I'm sure she's sharpening her tools right now and trying to play her best tennis in peak right now. So, as much as this may seem like, who did Osaka lose to? Navarro is someone that Osaka can lose to. This is an Olympic chosen athlete. This is a top 20 player in the world. This is a top 20. I think she's top 20 in the world. But this is a top 10 American right now. So, not a complete pushover. This is someone to keep an eye out.
You are correct. She's seeded 19 at Wimbledon.
Okay, yeah. So, she's up there.
Yes. And now, this isn't new to me because a lot of people give the harder hitting award to Sabalenka, but Madison Keys again outstruck Alcaraz in both the forehand and the backhand speed in their first round matches.
Jeez.
Navratilova was, wow, how do you hit that hard, that consistent with placement? Now, she didn't say that she was going to be a contender, but she was really impressed with the speed.
Yeah.
And again, they always give the speed to Sabalenka, but Madison Keys has been striking the ball slightly harder.
Yeah.
Do you think she is a contender at Wimbledon?
If you remember, ask me this question again next week, assuming she's even still in the draw a week from now. But, I honestly don't really think about it. But, I mean, at this point, with how wide open the tournament itself is, hitting that hard, it's hard to say she doesn't have a swinger's chance. It's there. It's possible. But I wouldn't have anticipated it, I would love to see it. So, hopefully that is the case.
Yes, if she can control it, her serve is big enough. She has a really good serve. Toss could be a little lower, but that's a different story. But I think that as long as she can control the power, she could be a contender. And now the big story on the women's side, is Vondrousova, defending champion, out in the first round. You could see that she was in pain. Apparently she was suffering with some back problems, but she's out. What are your thoughts there?
Did we think she was going to defend the title?
I mean, I wouldn't think she would lose in the first round.
Definitely an upset.
Yes.
That part, for sure. And I don't even know who she lost to. And I don't mean that as in, like, what the name was, but I mean, like, I've never heard of this player. It was like Buzaz,
yes.
Something like that. I'm not familiar with this player. Surprising loss for sure. And I did not have any thoughts of her defending her slam title at all. But like you said, the first round, usually players come in, you have a certain level of morale and confidence when you go, I won this last year. I belong here. So for her to have this situation where she got hurt and wasn't able to win is surprising.
Yes.
It's disappointing.
Especially with the draw she had by seed. She probably could beat Barbora Krejcikova. She hasn't been playing super great this year. She did a couple years ago, obviously winning the French Open. But her real test was going to be Danielle Collins in the 4th round. So you would think she'd at least make it to the 4th round.
Yeah.
But yeah, there are some crazy stats here. So as I stated, she did lose in the 1st round. And the last person to lose in the 1st round that was a defending champion, you'll never guess who it is. She's an icon, a legend. 30 years ago. Do you have any idea?
Ooh, 30 years
Think
ago.
about who was playing in 1994. So it wasn't Navratilova. It wasn't obviously ever. So
Is that
Steffi Graf.
Really?
She lost in the 1st round as a defending champion in straight sets.
Wow. I didn't know that.
What do you think of that stat? Did you think that was going to happen again? A defending champion.
In this day and age, I know it's possible in this current era of winners. But no, I would never bet on that. Never. I would just never bet on that ever. It's just so unlikely. But I mean, that's proof. It's 30 years apart that it's happened. So
yes,
that's crazy to see.
Yeah, that was a pretty big stat. And Steffi Graf on grass with her game style, she was a machine.
1st round. Jeez.
Yes. So with that slice low, I mean, how did she? But she did.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about Murray a little bit because this has to do with our last story on the WTA side. We're sort of foreshadowing a little bit here.
I'm excited for this story. I think I know it.
But Murray's former coach was asked by Boyle Sport, do you ever think that Raducanu and Murray could ever play mixed doubles? And his former coach said, if she doesn't take it, what's her problem? Well, it has come to fruition. Murray and Raducanu will play mixed doubles at Wimbledon.
Wow.
He has played with Serena. Do you think they could make a deep run? Murray and Raducanu.
So here's the thing. Here. I think that Raducanu has beautiful strokes. I think that Murray is a rock solid doubles player, and he's proven it. We've watched him make noise with Feliciano Lopez. We know his brother is literally a specialist. Murray's good at doubles. How will they work out together? I'm not so sure. I don't see a big weapon on their side of the court. That's problem number 1. Problem number 2, I'm not familiar with Raducanu's net play. I don't think I'm familiar with it at all. And they're on grass, which means maybe they can get away without big serves, and work that grass a little bit. But how are they going to come forward and take over that net consistently? Odds are not in their favor, in my opinion. But this is a fun combination, and I'm going to watch.
For sure.
I love both of these players. I'm a fan of both. So, yeah, it's exciting. And this is great for the tournament. They should be filling up seats with that doubles combo.
And when Serena and Murray played together, I don't want to say Murray was struggling with the female serve, but he was making just unforced return errors that you would never see when he faces a ATP player serve.
Yeah.
So
that's kind of funny.
So it's interesting. It'll be an interesting match, the setup. But obviously, going now to the ATP, he did withdraw from the men singles, but he is going to play doubles, as I just stated, with Raducanu and with his brother. Are you surprised that he withdrew from singles?
Not really. He's coming off of a full-fledged surgery, like last night. Like he just had a back surgery. I really was surprised when they said, yes, he's coming to Wimbledon. But the fact that he's just doing doubles to me makes perfect sense. Way shorter match time on court, much less court coverage. They do no ad scoring. He's going to be fine. He'll be fine out there. So this is good. I am hearing that this is potentially his last Wimbledon. With that being the case, that also explains why he's going, you know what, let me make some noise and just play as much as I can, whether it be doubles or not. So if that's the case, I see why.
Well, just to keep it going, obviously we released a video about Murray getting his own statue at Wimbledon. The comments were funny, but should he get his own statue? Yes or no? At Wimbledon?
No.
Okay. Moving on to Fritz. Obviously, we're going to talk about a little bit of what happened prior to Wimbledon. He is the first player to win a 3-time championship at Eastbourne.
That's impressive.
What are your thoughts there?
I'm a little curious. What exactly is the magic of him in Eastbourne?
Yes.
I don't fully understand that part, but I think that being a three-peat or a 3-time champion anywhere is very impressive. It's a little unusual. I do wonder, what is it about this event, this tournament, and him that make this happen?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah, but
He probably just puts it together there.
Yeah.
Yes. So now we're going to go over the men's draw. Obviously, Sinner had a big scare today with his countryman Berrettini. 3 tie breaks. And Berrettini won the set that he won fairly easily. And now he's going to play either Griekspoor or Kekmanovic and Nicholas Jarry or Shelton. But Nick Jarry lost early. We'll get to that in a bit. What are your thoughts on Sinner's draw? And Alcaraz and Sinner will play each other in the semis if they make it.
First and foremost, Berrettini, in my opinion, was the dark horse of this tournament. Grass court specialist. He was actually looking sharp before he came to Wimbledon. And this was very testing for Jannik Sinner, who's playing a fellow Italian, right?
Yes.
So a lot of different psychological cues there, because Berrettini's probably not going to have the same fear of aura that some of the other players on tour have when they meet Sinner on court at this point in time. He probably sees him as more human because they have history of some type. And on top of that, bottom line, Berrettini played better tennis overall than Jannik Sinner in this match. He played better. He was the better player today. The catch-20, or the issue, not a catch-22, the major issue was who showed up on the points that mattered the most. Jannik Sinner did, Jannik Sinner showed up during the clutch points, during the tiebreaker points, and we just saw him make errors that he's not supposed to make during certain points that mattered the most. That's really all it was. And like you said, he broke. He broke in the third, and I think he had a double break. So a little bit surprising that he couldn't put it together for at least one tiebreaker.
Yes.
He lost 3 tiebreakers to lose this match. That's heartbreaking. This was a semifinal match. This was semifinal level tennis. If I'm Jannik Sinner, I walk away from this with my head held high confidence, and I go, okay, if I got through that, I should be able to get through the rest of this tournament. For sure. Because I just played against a guy who could be a finalist here.
Yes.
So, a lot of positive takeaways for both players here. I think Berrettini should get his confidence back. I know it's been a little bit low. He's had some rough tournaments and results, but he's been looking good the last month. So, great match.
And now we're going to talk about Nicholas Jarry, who lost to Tiafoe in the first round. And that was going to be a potential opponent for Sinner. Nicholas Jarry has been playing fabulous tennis, especially on clay.
Yeah.
Big server. He beat Alcaraz in South America and loses to Tiafoe, who's been having a horrible season. But Shapovalov is a good grass court player.
He's a shot maker.
Yeah.
And this rewards that.
Are you surprised by that loss with the way they've been playing this year?
The thing is, Tiafoe has finally been kind of coming out of his slump. I'm going to see if I can find his record right now, because I can't remember all the matches by heart, but he's coming out of his slump. He looked horrible the first quarter of this year. Bottom line, he looked absolutely terrible. But he's been putting together, I think he took out Tiafoe not too long ago. He's had a few notable wins, and I think that the grass is a great place for him to find some confidence in his play style. He's got a flashy lefty serve. He's a big hitter. He's a shot maker. He works the different spins. And when he finds some level of consistency, he can go blow for blow with anyone. So I think that this is a respectable loss if you're Jarry. He should not be upset. Do you have a Tiafoe headlining?
I do. I'm going to bring that up later.
Okay. I didn't want to bring it up on accident. Okay. I'll leave that alone. But yeah, this is an impressive win, in my opinion, for Tiafoe. And I wanted to ask you, does this mean anything for Shapo moving forward? Should we be keeping an eye out for the return of the guy that was supposed to be playing such great tennis before?
I mean, this is a confidence boost. He hasn't played well in a while. Obviously, he's not a clay court specialist, but again, he is a good enough player on grass. So I'm actually not super shocked there. So, hold on, I lost my train of thought. Okay, so before going to more Wimbledon, here's a wild fact for you that you would never thought would happen with the dominance of Djokovic on all surfaces. Nadal is the only player in history to have at least 25 titles on 2 different surfaces.
So he has 25 hardcourt, 25 clay minimum.
Yes.
Interesting. Okay.
So better than Djokovic.
Djokovic doesn't have 25 clay titles. Interesting. That stat is, it's lopsided because there's much less grass and clay surface titles, and he monopolized them. He took them all. So that's an impressive stat, though, for him. I think if there were more grass court events, we could have a Federer conversation here.
But the big thing here is that people are all, he's just a clay court specialist. That all?
I don't believe that.
But here he has all these titles on a different surface.
Yeah.
So what gives?
Yeah, I mean, he succeeded being just a clay court specialist in 2008. That's when that conversation should have stopped. Is he clearly much better as a player when he's on clay? Yes. Is he just a clay court specialist? That's a joke to even say. Right. This guy is an all-time great. So that's a weird conversation. Yes. I don't understand people who say that about him. Just because he's the GOAT on a surface doesn't mean he's not any good on other surfaces.
Agree.
Yeah.
So now we're going to talk about the draw again. We just talked about Sinner. Djokovic of these guys has the cakewalk draw. He's going to face either Echeverry or Popyrin, then most likely Runa or Hashanov. And then Hurkacz or de Minaur in the quarters. What are your thoughts on Djokovic's chances?
Look, first and foremost, I'm going to bring this up because I told you last week that consider him a wash for Wimbledon. But his first round, he looked like a superhero. He looked great. He looks healthy. He's moving well. This is all based off just the first round. If he can sustain that level, I'll see him in the final for sure. I see him in the final. Hurkacz will be a test. Hurkacz's serve on grass should be a major issue for him. And who was the round before that he's potentially facing?
Runa or Hashanov.
Hashanov would be more of an issue than Rune.
Yes.
Hashanov has a game that could be threatening on grass, but once again, if Djokovic is playing the way he's supposed to be playing when he's healthy, I don't see him having any trouble until he gets to Hurkacz.
Yes, I agree. But here's a very interesting quote by a commentator. So last week I had mentioned that Jannik Sinner was asked if he was the favorite, and he said no, if Novak Djokovic plays, he's the favorite. Well, this commentator said Sinner is the complete package. There is no holes in his game. He's the favorite. Do you agree with that statement?
Are we saying there's holes in the game of any of the top 4 players?
Well, apparently there might be, but according to the analysts, they're saying that Sinner has no holes. It was Ana Ivanovic.
Interesting. Ana Ivanovic is commentating? Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I feel like that's just some weird blanket statement thing, you know. Jannik Sinner, I agree. I think he has a complete packaged game, but so does Djokovic, so does Alcaraz, so does Medvedev, so does Zverev. These are complete players. They have great forehands, great backhands, good movement, decent serves, if not great serves, depending who we're talking about. These guys are all complete athletes. So, what are you saying? I don't get that. When you go against Djokovic, there's not a hole on the court. There's nowhere safe to hit a ball. I mean, the guy's hitting passing shot winners while sliding on grass with his backhand off a knee injury. There's nowhere safe to put that ball. So, yeah, that's a little odd of a statement, but I get what she's trying to say. You know, he is my favorite to win the event. He truly is. That's my pick. But Djokovic, to me, is going to the final, if he's healthy.
Yes. All right. We're going to talk about another one before I bring up Alcaraz's draw, because all this correlates. The serve bot himself did not get a wild card into Wimbledon.
Milos?
And he refused to not play the qualifiers.
Oh, wow.
Are you shocked that Milos did not get a wild card into Wimbledon?
I'm not shocked. I'm not shocked by it. If you want me to be frank with you, I usually assume wild cards go to people who really fill up seats or countrymen. Those are like the priority picks, right? Are you a legacy act that everyone still wants to see, or are you someone beloved by the people locally? You know, if you're not one of those two, it's just a matter of how many open spots are there really. And Milos doesn't really fit either of those packagings to me. Don't get me wrong, I love Milos Raonic's game. I like to watch him play. I think he's a good player. But I'm not surprised he didn't get chosen.
Yeah, I don't blame him. He is a finalist, so I could have seen why they would. But I mean, I'm not mad, as you stated. They do give the wild cards to countrymen, and that's what they do.
Yeah.
So the big first round matches, I thought this was interesting, was Aliassime and Kokkinakis. That was a good one.
Big one.
Mannarino and Monfils.
Woo.
You know, Mannarino's a very awkward player.
Yeah.
Monfils ended up winning that, and as we speak, I believe play got suspended. Monfils is up on the Stanimal 2-0 at 5-5 in the third, I believe. What are your thoughts on that match, especially the two old guys here, Monfils and the Stanimal?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like they just threw all the old guys in one little line of the draw, because even how did I just forget his name that quick? First guy he played. Mannarino. Even Mannarino is... These are the 5 oldest guys on tour. These are 3 of them. You know, so they kind of just packaged them all up in one corner and said, you know, fight for your little ride to the final. But yeah, Gael Monfils to me is the one moving the best and the healthiest out of the old guys that are not Djokovic. And so it makes sense that he's getting the results he's looking for. But Mannarino's kind of... He's cooled off from the hot season he had last year. He's now playing a little closer and true to age and ranking. And Stan Wawrinka he seems to be the guy who looks incredible but can't close. That seems to be where he's at with it. You know, he's putting up amazing fights against everyone he faces, and then it's 5-7, 6-7, 4-6, you know, just not quite finishing out sets. So, it's unfortunate. Yes,
that is true. Stanimal is playing really good tennis as well, but he's just not coming over the hump.
Yeah.
So it is, I don't want to say sad to see, but I'm hoping that one of these days he could do it.
Yeah.
And now we're going to talk about Kyrgios. He said that obviously he is commentating at Wimbledon, and he said that he's going to be coming back in the next couple of months, and he will be playing a lot of doubles. He did play doubles with Stefano Tsitsipas, his frenemy, in Washington, the City Open a couple of years ago. Do you think he does have a wrist problem, obviously? Do you think he could do well in doubles?
Yeah, for sure. He's a doubles Grand Slam champion. He has incredible volley ability. He has an incredible serve. He's got a good serve return on the backhand side. He's kind of built for doubles. He's actually a great doubles player. So, depending who he gets partnered with and who he chooses to play with, which we've already heard he committed to playing with Djokovic. I've heard him asking to play with a few other big names. I wouldn't be surprised if we see him and Naomi Osaka appear. We see him and Djokovic appear, and he's filling up stadiums wherever he goes.
Right, I agree. He's a ticket seller, so I mean, all these players will play with him.
Yeah.
So it'll be fun. But now we're gonna go to the big upsets here. So Korda was supposed to play Davidos Fokina in the first round. He pulled out of Wimbledon, and he ended up playing an up-and-coming player. I forgot his name right now. I'll look it up in a bit. He got aced off the court.
Ooh.
First round upset. Do you fault him for losing in the first round? He wasn't prepped for this player? Or is it how could he lose?
I mean, he's got to win that still. You have to win it still. Part of the challenges we don't hear much about when you're one of the guys at the very top is you usually get fed the nobodies that there's not footage on. You don't get to study as well. And you have to figure it out and find rhythm earlier. But, you know, he sounds like he played a guy who had a massive serve. I didn't see the match. I do know I think it was the longest match in the first round. Had several tiebreakers. I think it went to 5. And obviously we know Korda was someone we favored on grass to do well at Wimbledon. So this is surprising.
Yes, Giovanni Persard. That's his name.
I've never heard of him.
52 aces.
Wow.
So I may be butchering his name, but you know. But
it's a 10 ace average per set.
And I saw him. It was as if, again, love 90s Wimbledon, as you guys would know by me mentioning it over and over. Serve and volley. Constantly.
Yeah.
So it was just a beautiful thing to see. But the funny thing here is last year at Queens, I believe, Korda said, I am one of the favorites to win Wimbledon. Last year.
Okay.
He lost in the first round. Last year. This year, he loses in the first round as well. Do you think he should just keep his mouth shut?
You know, self-belief is a secret ingredient needed to be a champion. And unfortunately, seems like he's missing some other ingredients. So you know, I'll hope the best for him. I feel like he has the tools. So
he does.
There's something missing that's causing him to struggle with these new names, these nobodies, these.
Are you calling them clowns?
Nice segue there. Nice segue. But yeah, this is a match he is supposed to win, and he went to absolute war against this guy and lost. So. Surprising. It shouldn't be happening if you believe in yourself that you're going to win all of Wimbledon. You've got to win these.
Yes. Yeah. And again, a couple episodes again, you said, well, he's not going to do great at the French Open. He's American. So where is he going to do well? The U.S. Open?
The U.S. Open's to me, it's a crapshoot at the U.S. Open. I feel like, in my opinion, Korda is the least media covered American. He seems to be the biggest talent with the least coverage. He flies under the radar. He doesn't get a lot of attention. And the reason I say that is because at the U.S. Open, the Americans are supposed to be able to weaponize the fans and the crowd. I don't know if Korda is going to walk out there and just be treated like a European or not. You know, I don't think the people are going to really know who he is the way some of the other Americans are when they walk out. So I'll be interested to see what his presence brings to the U.S. Open.
Right, I agree. But he can play. He's made it to the Australian Open semis.
Yeah.
And then he hurt his wrist.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't for that, he would have been in the final.
Yeah.
So he can play.
We know he's a baller. We know
Yes.
that. Me and you have spoken highly of him for a very long time. We've compared him to Berdych. He's got a play style, to me, that can translate onto all surfaces if done correctly. So I'm interested to see what comes of this.
Yes. So that was a pretty bad loss for him, but Goffin was not expected to play, but Murray ended up withdrawing from Wimbledon, and he ended up playing Mahesh. Mahesh is the one who beat Murray when he slipped in Miami. And Goffin was up, and he ended up losing in 5. What are your thoughts of these just not being able to finish?
I will come to his defense and say maybe he wasn't in the mindset fitness-wise to go 5 sets and go the distance, and maybe he came up a little short. You know, it sounds like he was right there and he just couldn't close out, and that comes from being match fit mentally and physically, you know. He put up a big fight. It was a long match, but Yeah, losing after you're up 2-0 that's tough.
Yes, I think I saw this on social media somewhere. He was partying at a beach or something, and then he gets the call to go to Wimbledon. So maybe his mind was still partying.
Like I said, I don't think his mind was sharpened, and it takes time, and so I like to compare sports to each other. When combat athletes find out they're going to fight someone or do a big event or showcase, they take 2 months to prepare their body and their mind for coming out and being in peak performance ability, And tennis isn't all that different. I don't think that he had done everything he probably would normally do to prepare for this tournament before he walked onto that court. I don't think we see the best version of Goffin out there, and he still went to 5 sets, so to me, that's a win.
And the fact that he doesn't have a serve, he only has a slice serve, not a kick serve at all, and he's competing on grass.
Yeah.
That means something to me.
Yeah, I agree.
And now the big upset of the first round, world number 122. Francisco Comsana beats Andre Rublev, the 6th seed. Again, he's had a heck of a season, winning a tournament on clay and just disappearing. Very similar to Casper Ruud. What are your thoughts on Rublev?
I'm confused on what's happening with Rublev off court. It has to be something going on off court. We've seen him win tournaments that we never would have gave him a chance or bet on him to win. And we've also seen him have the largest, most concerning meltdowns of his career within months of each other. I don't understand why he seems less stable than ever. I don't understand why he's less consistent than ever. We were talking about him last year and priding ourselves on how incredibly consistent this guy is.
Yes.
Quarterfinals, no matter what surface or event.
Right.
Put him in the quarters. Just draw a straight line there. He's going to be there. And now it's, the one tournament we might excuse him for making it quarters, he wins it. Then the next event we assume quarters and he drops in the first round. I'm confused what's going on with him. Are people figuring him out? Is it a mental thing for him? I'm not really sure what it is. Yes,
it's hard to say. He does play well at Wimbledon, but you're right. I think there's something there mentally. I think he's been a little off this year compared to other years.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's kind of hard to see what's going on, really. But then Jack Draper wins a 5-set epic to set up a second round match with one of the most beloved tennis players, Cam Norrie. Obviously, I'm being sarcastic. What are your thoughts on that matchup?
It's actually a tricky matchup. Cam Norrie, I wouldn't want to run into Cam Norrie in my second round match. Solid lefty forehand, decent lefty serve, on grass. It could be a problem, but Draper has been making noise. That should be an interesting matchup for second round.
Well, Draper beat Alcaraz.
Yeah, Draper's he's hot.
Yes, if he plays that type of tennis, I believe he'll beat Cam Norrie for sure. So now we're gonna go to Alcaraz's draw. So Alcaraz, this is a funny story. So you know how on Instagram they put the road to the final. His first round match, it was a qualifier. His name is Mark Lahal. He said the road stops here when he saw the qualifier to play Alcaraz in the first round.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts about that funny guy?
That is so crazy to talk that recklessly with such a little reputation. But, by all means, we know what happened. Alcaraz did not get upset.
He did not.
But these guys they're funny. I don't know if they're trolling or if they're serious. I really don't know.
Yeah, well, he got a little bit of a laugh in, so that's good.
Yeah, good for him.
Yeah, he won his second round match. We'll talk about his third round match in a bit. Bear is actually a good grass court player. I'm assuming if he were to make it there, he'd give Alcaraz a battle. And then Ruud did lose. He did win a round at least. So there, maybe he's falling in love with grass now. And but the potential quarterfinal, if he makes it, would be Tommy Paul. Mm-hmm. And Alcaraz struggles with Tommy Paul.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that matchup if they were to make it that deep?
That's a tricky matchup. Tommy Paul is extremely athletic, and he takes some pretty big cuts, and he's not afraid to take risks when he does match up with Alcaraz. So I think that is definitely a match to keep an eye on. Sinner paid his dues. He took on Berrettini. I think that Alcaraz got to do the same thing.
Yeah.
I think that this is very comparable. In fact, actually, I would even say that Sinner had a more challenging matchup. So Carlitos needs to show him proof.
Yeah. And this is a funny story as well. Alcaraz is being dubbed the savior of tennis, which is infuriating a lot of people. Paul McNamee said, I don't know, that's very disrespectful to Yannick Sinner and Novak Djokovic. What are your thoughts on him being dubbed that?
All right, question number one. I just want to ask you this. Do you think tennis was in a state of emergency?
Recently?
Since Alcaraz came to the scene, do you think that tennis was in a vulnerable state or anything like that?
No, that was at his probably peak.
Yeah. Calling him tennis's savior when tennis was not in jeopardy of any form, in trouble, it's a little odd. It's a little odd to me. There was a lot of speculation about the future of tennis when Nadal, Djokovic, and Federer all quit. But we still, quote-unquote, have Nadal. We still have Djokovic. And the torch is slowly changing hands. But to be the savior means to come and rescue. So I think that it's a weird title to give Alcaraz.
Okay. Obviously, Federer's retired. Nadal is on the way out. Mm-hmm. Djokovic, who knows?
Yeah.
But there's no longer the big three.
Yeah.
So maybe he's coming at the right time.
Yeah, but I think that he's showing up early. It's a smooth transition. The concerns of men's tennis have not actually arisen to be anything legitimate. And there are still great matches and narratives and stories happening on the tour right now for winners and losers.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stability in the top 8. Men's tennis is doing extremely well, and I don't think that it's solely because of Carlitos. I do think that he's a pillar of the future of men's tennis, and I do think that he's bringing stability to the top 4. I will say those things.
Yeah.
But the savior, I can't agree. I cannot agree.
Okay, that's fair. So now we're going to talk about the big story here. It is Frances Tiafoe. Who would have thought that he was the big story? But he did make some controversial remarks. He did win his first round. Mm-hmm. First time that he's come back from 2 sets to come back ever for Big Foe. Mm-hmm. And the action wasn't the big issue here. The thing was, you probably have the quote, so I'm just going to paraphrase it. He's all, I was seated here last year.
He said, I was a top 10 player this time last year.
Yes, and I was seated here, and I'm just going to be frank with you guys. I'm just losing to a bunch of clowns. And that drew some drawback by fans.
I'm looking for the exact quote, but keep going.
So while you're looking it up, I'm going to say this. Okay, clown. If you're calling these people clowns, you're losing to the clowns. What does that make you? What are your thoughts on that statement by Tiafoe?
I have a lot to say, honestly. So first and foremost, I'm gonna dig into this a little bit.
Did you get the quote?
Yeah, I got the quote.
Okay.
We said it pretty close, so okay. I'm not gonna. I'll reread it, but
okay.
We didn't say anything misleading.
Okay.
Literally, this week last year, I was 10 in the world, and now I'm barely seated here, losing the clowns. I hate to say it, but I'm just going to be honest. That's a statement after his first round win at Wimbledon. Let's start off with just talking about who has he been losing to, because these are the said clowns, right?
Correct.
So, as of right now, he had beat Arnaldi in the first round and is now set up to play Coric, who he's He beat. All right, so he beat Korch.
Don't jump the gun.
First and foremost, I'm not going to say too much, but
Yeah.
we know Korch's history. Arnaldi, I wouldn't say a casual fan is familiar with Arnaldi's history. But
He's had a solid year, though.
Yeah, but he's decent.
He's decent.
If you watch closely, he's a decent player. Let's just talk about the last 2 or 3 tournaments from Tiafoe in singles. He lost in the first round to Hijikata at Queen's Club.
Yeah.
Okay. Stuttgart. He lost to Draper. And that was in the quarters. So, a little confusing there. Draper is clearly not a clown.
No.
French Open. He lost to Chapo.
Oh.
Getting a little spooky here.
Yes.
A little spooky here. Because what are we saying, right? Is he talking about the Chapo being the guy who's been in a rut, in a slump, and how he has kind of been the key to ending that slump? Is that what the conversation is?
Yeah.
Because Chapo kind of came out the slump when he made the 3rd round of the French Open, right? And he did that by beating Tiafoe in the 2nd round. So, an interesting topic of conversation there. And then, I will say this. He lost to a guy from France I haven't heard of at the Lyon Open. Ritterneck, something like that. That may be the closest thing to a clown. Even though I find that phrase for a professional tennis player to be disrespectful. That might be the closest thing possible. First and foremost, I just want to say, his last 4 or 5 matches, he's only played respectable athletes, whether he won or lost. Secondly, I want to bring up what a lot of other pro athletes from other sports started telling Tiafoe after his big major run at the U.S. Open. I'm not sure if you're familiar. So, Tiafoe makes his big run, becomes a superstar, right?
Correct.
He proceeds to go on a celebrity press tour run. He's at NBA All-Star games. He's hanging out with Steph Curry. He's doing interviews. He's in media. He's on Breakpoint, or he's all over the place.
All over.
He's everywhere, but, and I don't hang out with him. I don't know him, but it seems like he's everywhere, but grinding it out and really honing in and getting better at his craft, right? We see him at UTS. He's doing a lot of different things. Then we see him with Steph Curry. And you know what Steph Curry tells him?
What's that?
He goes, look, man, you're a great athlete. But can I be honest with you for a second? You don't seem like you're really locked in.
Oh, that's news to me.
Yeah, he says, I don't think you're really locked in. I don't think you're really dialed into your sport and your craft yet. And Tiafoe kind of just smiled. What are your thoughts on Steph Curry kind of calling it early? This was last year.
That's great.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, he made that deep run at the U.S. Open. All those celebrities were there when he beat Nadal.
Yeah.
And that's when it really started.
Yeah.
And but that's spot on. You would never see a big-time player, since we're talking about the NBA. Jordan, you would never see that.
Yeah.
Kobe shooting at baskets at 4 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah.
You would never see that. So Steph Curry calling him out, that's great.
Yeah.
Put him in perspective.
Yeah, and that's a guy who's playing at a high level for 10 years, Steph Curry. So he knows it when he sees it, right?
Yes.
He spends the money on his body, on his technology, on his training program to maintain being one of the best in the world year after year after year. So to me, it was a light cue of foreshadowment for what's going on right now with Frances Tiafoe. And do you think any of these players he mentioned are clowns?
Again, Arnaldi has had a good season. I mean, Chapo, if you want to call him a clown by result, I guess. But I don't know. I don't know about calling these ATP players clowns when you can't beat them.
Yeah, when you've had a bit of a goofy season yourself.
Yes.
All
right, and this is the big one here. So Tiafoe wins his 2nd round match. And now the commentator says, guess who you're playing? And he says, oh, okay. Tiafoe says, Alcaraz, I'm coming for you. Coming after you. So he's playing the savior of tennis in the 3rd round.
The savior of tennis versus the clown killer.
Yes, there you go.
Okay.
Snippet,
gotcha.
Snippet for sure. And then Alcaraz was told that he's going to play Tiafoe. And then Alcaraz said, I'm coming for him.
Oh.
With a big smile.
With that big that big Alcaraz smile we're used to seeing.
Yes, so what are your thoughts on that third round matchup?
Let me say this. We saw peak Frances Tiafoe playing his best tennis, super fit, super sharp. His run got ended by Carlos Alcaraz.
That is correct.
And we saw Tiafoe look into the crowd and say, I'm giving this everything. And he didn't have enough. Do we think the guy that's coming out of a slump playing clowns has what it takes to go against the Wimbledon champion? I don't think so. This would be an incredible story to a big slump, but it would be a crazy plot twist if it does happen. What are the odds to you that Tiafoe finds a way and shakes off all the clown juice and assassinates the king?
Oh, man. Well, Alcaraz did make a statement after making that statement of I'm coming after him. I'm just going to read it. He said, we played a really good match at the U.S. Open. I know that he is a really talented player. I'm going to say even tougher here on grass with his style. Good volleys, good slices. So it's going to be a really difficult match, but I am ready for the challenge.
I love it.
That's Alcaraz on Tiafoe. So with that being said, he does possess a little bit of a challenge. He
has a tool set.
With the tools on grass.
Yeah.
So it makes sense.
Yeah.
You would give him a puncher's chance with Alcaraz saying all that. Does that change your mind?
Here's the thing. Carlos saying all those things about him, to me, is actually the opposite effect. It's Carlos saying, nothing is going to be gifted or handed over to me. I'm coming in prepared with strategy and tactics. El Mosquito will be in my corner, and we know what we need to do to win because we know we should take that guy seriously. That's what I take from that statement. He's not coming out there with the big smiles and not a game plan behind him. I'm going Carlos in 4.
Yeah.
That's my call.
And this isn't the Olympics, so Ferrero could tell him whatever he wants.
Yeah.
So, I think he was pretty much ready for this matchup.
Expect a lot of passing shots is what I'll say.
Yes.
I think Tiafoe will be coming forward. I don't know if Tiafoe will have the setup sequences needed to exploit Carlos. I think Carlos is going to have a lot of firepower from the back of the court, and Tiafoe is not really match sharp enough yet to be coming in behind every ball and making these points as short as he'd like to.
Yes, I believe that El Mosquito definitely has the game plan. They've been waiting for this match most likely. And with Tiafoe saying that stuff, that was just the perfect time for Alcaraz to say, you don't even know, but I've been studying you. I'm ready.
Yep.
So that's my take there. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
I have one more topic.
Okay.
Even though that was a great closing topic, by the way.
That's why I saved it.
Yeah. New doubles team announcement alert.
Oh.
Doubles together in Bastad. Casper Ruud and Rafael Nadal.
Oh my goodness.
They are coming together to play doubles in Bastad. What are your thoughts and reaction there?
No wonder he lost early. That makes a lot of sense. Now
He's got places to be.
He has places to be. He loves grass anyway, so might as well leave.
Yep.
That's actually a good doubles combination. Again, the same thing. Don't know how Casper Ruud volleys, but Nadal, he has great volleys. Unlike the Djoko smash, he has a great overhead. So I don't know how Casper Ruud's going to be at the net, but I think that's a great doubles pairing.
Yeah, I think they're both scheduled to play singles there as well. Obviously, like you just said, Nadal, I think he has a gold medal in doubles. Is this also Nadal going, you played in my academy, let's scratch each other's backs and play together and help build your name up some more, and let's help prepare me for doubles at the Olympics, because him playing with Ruud is probably a great tester for how he can play with Carlitos himself.
Yes, and Alcaraz has hands.
Yeah.
So you're right. This is going to be a tester. We're going to see what he has, and he's going to prep. He's going to use this to see how he moves, what he needs to work on. So when Alcaraz is ready, they'll be ready for the Olympics. That's a good pairing.
Yeah. So that's my little extra piece of news for you.
All right. In that case, I hope you guys were entertained.
ATP. Adios.